Banana slam jam.
Hello everyone, this is going to be a nice little educational tidbit starring KheZu on Centaur here. I was watching his stream and I saw him do this, and I thought it was a great follow-up video to the angry guide I made about Dubu support compared to the guy I had. And in that guide, I talked about the opponent holding me hostage at the range creep and how it made me lose a lot of health because of this hostage situation I have as a carry when I'm forced to try to go for the range creep when it's at about half health. So a lot of times, one of the best ways you can abuse this, now that we're basically flipping it and saying, okay, rather than being the guy held hostage, we're going to show how a top tier player will punish you and hold you hostage properly. So this is like a perfect example of the max level of punishment that can be done to somebody because of this hostage situation that we created on the range creep. So coming up here, we're going to see a couple things. First and foremost, what I've already talked about. But secondly, why it's so important to make sure the first wave doesn't push into you really hard. If you watch players like KheZu, when they're a hero like Faceless Void or Lifestealer that doesn't really have a way to rapidly clear the wave, they don't want multiple creeps stacking up on them, because these heroes that like right-click trade, and that's their only way to survive in lane, Faceless Void and Lifestealer, if they have too many enemy creeps on the other side, then what ends up happening is they can't trade anymore, because suddenly they've got 8 creeps in their face when they're level 1, and that causes them to play really passively. So most notably, this Lifestealer makes a big mistake, and KheZu capitalizes on it to the absolute max that he possibly can. So something you can do as Lifestealer and Void that you'll see a lot of players like KheZu do, as I said, will be that they will hit the first wave a couple times when they're against a hero that naturally shoves it into them. Centaur being one of them, because he stomps on top of the creep wave in order to secure a CS, and that alone is enough to push the wave. So we want to avoid that happening as a carry, and in your bracket, since a lot of people do make mistakes, we're going to show you how to punish it. So we're going to see here that with the early level 1 aggression coming out from KheZu, the lane is already pushing. And this range creep's at half. We now are presented with the ingredients for a hostage situation. Okay, we are now in a hostage situation. Like the 2 or 3 crucial components of a hostage situation is when there's a creep that's at half or lower, especially a range creep, and that creep is also 2-hittable by you. Meaning, if the Centaur were to turn around and hit this creep twice, it would get denied. And the reason why that's so important is because as a Centaur, if I can deny this creep in 2 hits, it basically says if this Lifestealer walks away far enough away from that range creep such that I can hit it twice before he goes back to it, I get the free deny. And as long as I know what that range is, the second he walks away from it, I can immediately deny that range creep. And you're going to see the mind games that goes on here from KheZu. And he knows. He watched the Dubu support video. And he says, okay, BSJ tells me that this Lifestealer is being held hostage by this range creep. And now we're going to play it out and then talk about it. So what he effectively does here is the range creep was actually 3 hits away. So he purposely set it up to be 2 hits going into the tower range, which was really smart by him, because if it's 3 hits, the range that Lifestealer can be away from the creep is much higher. He then proceeds to pump fake that he's going to hit the creep, right? And the Lifestealer's like, oh shit, I gotta walk back for this. And instead of hitting the creep, he says, I know this creep is holding you hostage. I'm gonna let you walk up to it, and I'm gonna stun you. Max punish, because he has all these creeps. Look at this Lifestealer, right? This is obviously a very high immortal ranked player. And not only is he going to miss a bunch of CS because of this, and he can't walk up when he's super low, but he also just lost a bajillion HP. All because of this hostage situation created on the range creep. And something I want to point out, as a carry player, is that a crucial mistake that Allison made here was that If you can't finish this creep, you have to ask yourself in every single lane, if you can't finish this creep, you have to leave it above half. Otherwise, you get held hostage. Like, that's exactly what's happening here, right? And so what Lifesteal actually does is he puts that range creep in half and then backs off. So he actually set himself up for this. It's not always your fault when it happens as a carry, but this is the last thing you want to do. Because that entire situation that just happened was initiated by him setting this creep up below half. So a lot of fundamental errors made by the Radiant side, and maximum punishment coming out from KheZu. And it's super important that not only do we realize this is what we don't want our teammates to do, but if the opponent does it, it's really important that we punish it.